folks, welcome back to our channel. Today is going to be another few minutes when we talk about our extraterrestrial friends. We have talked so much about aliens before, and there have been talks of alien existence even before we came on, since centuries. Although many stories might just be conspiracy theories, we often wonder if there is some truth in these stories we hear. One of the most popular theories that exists is that aliens have merged in the human society as high-ranking representatives of the governments. Coupled with this, another theory that we constantly hear is that the U.S. government is aware about the existence of aliens and have even made several deals with them. In fact, earlier this year, the same Pentagon, which has denied the existence of aliens for several decades, released 3 official UFO videos. Today, we will be talking about Valiant Thor, the alien who arrived at the Pentagon. Although you might be at a point where you have no idea what to believe, there exist several accounts on this which even include a prominent podcast. Let's jump right into the story, or the truth, whichever you may decide to settle on. What we will be telling you from this moment on has been reported in a well-known book, Stranger at the Pentagon, written by Frank Stranges in 1967. Frank, who was a federal agent and had direct access to the Pentagon, lived the experience firsthand as he described it in the book. Although the story Frank had written seems to have been copied from some science fiction, there are several witnesses who have assured that what he wrote is indeed true. It all began on March 16, 1957, in a beautifully cultivated field at Alexandria, Virginia, where a spaceship and a figure with human characteristics was noticed. The police rushed to the scene and approached the subject, who called himself Valiant Thor. He said that he was here on a very important mission, and for this very reason, he needed to meet the President Eisenhower. People reported that he was wearing a black jersey, had black hair and brown eyes, and was around 185 centimeters. Frank wrote that his power of persuasion was so swift and strong that he was able to induce cops to accompany him directly to the Pentagon. Thanks to his psychic power, if we may call it that, he even managed to elude the security and acquired a meeting with Defense Secretary Charles Wilson. Not only that, the man even got hold of Vice President Richard Nixon, who was impressed by his words and arranged a meeting for Valiant with the president. According to Valiant, he was one of the most important commanders of his planet, who was requested by the higher council responsible for maintaining intergalactic order to arrive on the Earth and resolve some problems that they thought posed a major threat towards humanity. One such problem was the increasing use, interest, and development of nuclear weapons. Valiant was requested to stay for at least 3 years and resolve the problems and give his opinions. He talked to the president about how all research on nuclear weapons should be stopped instantly and all the existing ones should be destroyed. Unfortunately, we know that did not happen, as the economic and political interests outweighed his repeated requests. Around December of 1959, Valiant announced that he would be returning to his home planet within March of 1960, which meant he only had 3 months to complete his mission. He organized various shadow meetings with high office military scientists and politicians, but there was nothing to be done, as they were too blinded by ambition and seemed to show no signs to care about the danger it would pose to humanity. Valiant's repeated attempts led some people to believe that he was a threat to the political and economic structure, and even some religious leaders felt threatened by his presence on Earth. They strongly believed that the public would become hysterical if they realized that extraterrestrial beings exist. The ultimate result was that the government decided to withhold meetings and dampen the public opinion that an alien was visiting the Pentagon. On March 16th, Valiant went to the same cultivated field where he had landed 3 years ago and left without a trace. At this point, one might venture to think why this story was immediately not considered to be a fragment of imagination. Let us explain. There are several photographs of Valiant that were taken when he was present in different meetings at the Pentagon. But is this sufficient enough to make us believe that he was an extraterrestrial and that the entire story was true? After all, the person in the photographs might have been any other person. Why should it ever be an extraterrestrial? What perhaps had the most significant impact in proving the truthfulness of this story are the testimonies of four very distinguished individuals. Harley Burke, a Navy admiral who had made headlines during World War II. Richard Byrd Jr., the son of Admiral Richard E. Byrd, who was working in the Defense Department while Valiant was present and documented the conversations between the extraterrestrial and the members of high offices, which probably had been destroyed by the U.S. government and doesn't exist anymore. Geologist and film engineer Stephen Schneider, who was an active participant of top-secret U.S. government projects, such as building underground military bases and working at Area 51, and Laura Henson, who was the nephew of the ex-president and confirmed that everything Frank Stranges wrote in his book was indeed true. At this point, is it really necessary to do a series of considerations regarding the entire story? We start from the fact that the story might sound to be true, but don't forget the fact that not only these four important personalities confirmed Frank's story, but there are several others apart from them who did the same. It might be impossible to believe the story from a rational and skeptical viewpoint, especially when you consider that Valiant looked no different than any other person you could have met on the streets. After all, some might even say the protagonist tried to raise awareness of humanity on the danger of nuclear weapons, and that the story was a curious strategy to make us all listen and understand. We also need to consider that this happened at a time when humanity was literally obsessed with extraterrestrials. The 1960s were famous for uncountable UFO sightings and extraterrestrial encounters, most of which were sadly fake. There's also the fact of psychic power, as said earlier, which could have been used to persuade the president to abandon the nuclear weapon program altogether. In short, who was Valiant Thor? Was he really an extraterrestrial, or was it all a well-orchestrated montage? You already know that faced with cases of this kind makes us somewhat perplexed, but we also admit that this particular case was really fascinating. What do you think about this real or fake story? Let us know in the comment section below. Also, if you love the video, do not forget to click on the like button and subscribe to our channel. We'll be back with another inexplicable mystery before you can even realize that we were gone.